Hello, this is Dave Lee, and here's my systems engineering course presentation for the final. It's the case study on the human language technology. Let's get started. First and foremost, we're going to talk about the background. Uh, Artificial intelligence is pretty familiar topic today. It's one of the most popular technology in our everyday lives, but it's actually started since long ago. First time was actually 1950s, and now it's been developed a lot of different types of artificial intelligence like text AI, functional AI, and something like that. Oh, okay. And we're gonna figure out the origin of the artificial intelligence since the 1950s. Mm, yeah, so since 1950s, it started with the Alan Turing's machine, as called the Turing test. And the golden years of the artificial intelligence was mid 50s to 70s to mid 70s. Since the computer was able to compute complex problems like algebra word problems or proving theorems and learning to speak some languages. And there is also the winter years for the artificial intelligence, which is 1970s. uh, it, at the time it was vulnerable to critics and financial setbacks because um, the scientists were too optimistic, but they failed of this technology. But the people's expectations were too high, so uh, yeah, so that caused uh, the failure of the materialization of this technology. Uh, but again, the blooming years comes to this field, which is the 1980s, and uh, at the time it was the form of artificial intelligence was selected by the corporations in the world, so it became the mainstream of the researching in artificial intelligence. And in the modern society, um, as you can see, uh, as modern society's artificial intelligence uh, uh, consists of deep learning, big data, and uh, general intelligence. So some corporations recognize earlier for the future and expanded the diverse research areas. They expanded the research areas like image processing, video processing, speech recognition, and so on and so forth. Now let's talk about the human language technology. Uh, so, in particular, human language technology has an impact on the new technologies. Uh, yeah, it is part of the machine actually, which is able to do something related to text and speech, including automatically translating between the human languages. Also, this technology has an impact on the new technologies because of the increase in computing power with the significant performance with the cloud services. Mm, why don't we talk about the market trend? Uh, it's been grew up significantly since the early 2010s. There are some good examples of the companies utilize the human language technology very well. Uh, for example, the TripAdvisor is successfully implemented Spanish website based upon the English website and translated with the human language technology. Also, a lot of huge tech companies like Google or Apple are operating automatic customer services, so they don't so the customers don't have to call the customer service. These are all based on the speech recognition and text translation. Uh, Now let's talk about the restriction of current systems. The current system. mm, okay. So the current system has the limits. Um, for example, there's a word, a term called cross language barrier. Uh, uh, Let me give you an example. Translating English to Spanish or English to French or English to German, uh, and their vice versa is fairly operative. But East Asian languages like Korean, Chinese, and Japanese are still not fluent to translate in English, and vice versa too. Thus, it'll be a great avenue and achievement of growth for this field that is likely to see in the future if we can figure out its limitations. These are the restrictions of current systems, and um, let's talk about the deep learning. Hmm. Okay, so deep learning is a specific definition involved in the machine learning technology, which is based upon a wide variety of neural networks with uh, representation learning. As you can see in this slide, the input layers will be made up of the user input, such as English sentences. Uh, Also, the output layer can be a user output, such as Spanish translated results. So, according to the chain rule, we're able to implement the multiple layers, which is the hidden layers in this case. Uh, so this picture is a very simplified, and uh, the truth uh, is far more complicated. Edges can be the parameters, and it will be computed between the hidden layers. We can provide the variations to the model as well. So these are the overview of the deep learning, and let's move on to the needs analysis. Mm, so uh, when artificial intelligence first developed, people were not aware of this technology enough, but now it's becoming the essential technology to predict the future. It's because of the fast-paced globalization. Since we're living in a fast-paced society and we need some same pace of the technologies, this is the reason why it can be the smart home system or assistant systems. All right, and in terms of the expandability, I should mention about the development of expanding devices and infrastructure. Several sets of device features, like a Google Home, Amazon Alexa. Uh, these features are offered by the tech companies. Also, it's feasible today because of the notable development of internet speed and cloud systems. Hmm. Artificial intelligence is fairly recent and in its development and propagation, but it is potentially one of the most exciting topics in terms of human computer interaction. Mm, okay. Let's move on to the next slide. Concept exploration. Mm, this slide, I'll talk about the overall process for the language translation. We said with an example, which is Google Translate Service. Since 2015, Google Translate has been changed to neural machine translation from the statistical machine translation. Previous process is kind of like a replacement of the words that is quite a bit probable after analyzing words by words in their sentences. So in a sentence, existing machine replace the words from the database with the corresponding words, but the neural machine translation is different. Is actually the approach to is the approach to machine translation in which large neural network is trained to maximize translation performance. So it's faster and uh, is optimized. Okay. Uh, Next slide. Uh, as you can see uh, here, the original English sentence that should be translated, and these are the process, and this is the outcome for human language. This neural network has ability to translate from red circles, or which are assembly sentences, to green circles, which are translated assembly sentences. Each blue circle in the figure decides its number and weights according to the proper strategies or principles after receiving the values from the red circles here. Mm, yeah. Let's see the next slide, which is concept definition. Uh, so in terms of the operational performance and compatibility, it's actually mentioned in the previous phases for the example of Google Translate service, and the efficacy will be demonstrated once the parameters are clearly defined as the neural network is capable on training itself. Also, the Translate service is based on the web platform, which means that it can be compatible with any types of the electronic services devices, including mobile PC tablets. This can be the high compatibility, and the program cost will be fairly expensive because of the training process. Uh, Also, program schedule shouldn't be an issue today due to the increase of the processing power as well as the uses of the well-organized facilities for the cloud systems. Now, let's talk about the advanced development. So, basically, the translation system requires um, diverse platforms like mobile application, web extensions, something like that. So, uh, we need to consider the two different types of the models. Um, in uh, so, like early model was the statistical machine translation, and the latter model was neural machine translation. Mm, uh, Early machine model looks for the patterns in the millions of documents to help making decision on the best translation. But the neural machine translation nowadays it translates the whole sentences at a time, so it has greater performance and less time complexity than the initial model. Mm, Also, uh, we need to talk about the implementation of systems engineering. Uh, uh, where is it? Oh yeah. So um, we can actually divide the two different functionalities, like I said, for the better performance. So, for example, if the text value to be translated are shorter, to use a neural machine translation model, then it is better to use a machine translation, so the performance could be better. But on the other hand, neural machine translation translate the text block by understanding context at a time, and in this case, is not able to view the substitutions. So we need, thus it might need to develop document translation functionality for the long text form because it has a restriction of the number of the characters. uh, Correlation, it is also important to think about the correlations between the languages. um, Long story short, mm, the in terms of East Asian languages like Chinese, one word can be complex meaning. Uh, for example, one character in Chinese means a lot of things. Like it could be a sentence as well. So basically, it's different from the Western languages. So we need to understand these correlations. Uh, Engineering design. In this design stage, we need to consider the requirements from the system engineering, uh, like the project, the a lot of parts. Majority of the parts in the project should be determined, like the whole size of projects, what kind of platforms we're gonna use, user interface, user experience, functionality definitions, specifications, something like that. Um, Also, we need to specify the spectrum of the things, uh, uh, like the web to mobile application, so to speak. And also, we need to think about an interface too for giving the users the better experience and makes them a little bit more comfortable to use the service and systems. And the performance wise, by analyzing memory uses, we are able to figure out the performance, uh, like the time complexity or space complexity. So the analyze is very important things too. Mm, let's move on to the next slide, which is the integration and evaluation. We need to think about the system integration and evaluation too. We need to verify all the specifications and functionalities in the integrated user interface in our system. Uh, yeah, especially uh, for example, if the text is short enough, a user should be able to translate their text by machine translation. Otherwise, using the neural machine translation model, something like that. For and next is a network status. A network condition affects the performance in the system, so it's very important part too. Uh, if the internet speed is slow, then it's less likely to for the users to use this service or systems. So the network status is very important in this stage, and the accuracy and consistency too. In order to achieve this goal, the server should be able to interact with database fast, so that the system also could get the feedback from the users. So the more we collect the feedbacks from the users, the system could be more accurate. And the last one, saving and recording functions. Uh, it would be nice to have the saving and recording functions if in our system, and so the users can translate the service, translate the sentences by just saying something, some sentences, or in a dialogue. Next slide is a production. So in modern society, uh, the the fast-paced industry has changed the market and the world. So the production uh, stage is also important. Mm, there might be different translation models for the effective software operation. So um, every different model should be split into the small groups. So so the a specific engineer or experts can contribute the most for their model. Mm. So this is about the division of labor and specific analysis and visualization is we have to um, consider about the user distribution and its usability over the world. So let's say 80% of the users are Americans. Uh, in that case, uh, we need to we need to put the servers in 80% of the servers in the uh, America for the 80% Americans. That is more effective strategy. And the other other continents, just might need the minimum number of infrastructure and servers. These are the specific analysis. And when it comes down to the deployment, mm, deployment uh, that means that once the system is developed enough and ready to release to the market, uh, is a part of the production level, and we need to consider the way how we release the service into the world. So like we need to match the releasing time for the different platforms, something like that. And the last part, cost. Um, there are a lot of systems and services released free these days in the market. Uh, I'll say a majority of the services are free to use or free to implement. But if the price to spend to maintain the system is higher than the price that our system can earn, it becomes the system that does not have the cost effectiveness. So we need to implement the microservice architecture in this case. Uh, Next slide. Operation and support. So the system must be maintained by the engineers or the scientists for each area, and this scope could be operation and support. So the first of all, security. We need to monitor 24 hours for the security because it must be safe at all times. So uh, yeah, so um, we 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 have to take care of the securities so it cannot be hacked from the outside, and the user's information, translation information, uh, does not really revealed unintentionally. In composition of teams, we might need extra team that is capable of handling the user's feedback from scratch. The team might be in charge of managing the customer feedback and their issues apart from the customer service. Challenges. We cannot help thinking about the security and data privacy, especially like uh, I'm pretty sure everyone is aware of this because of Facebook. So Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg had to face uh, congressional questions since he did not manage the user's data, something like that. And deeper comprehension. Second thing, the deeper understanding for the human language is required and it should be improved. Uh, but it requires massive data from online. And the last one, new language appearance. Um, so the countries will be added later on as is developed. But because of the characteristics of artificial intelligence, uh, data set is the key role to develop the artificial intelligence. But the countries that does not have great internet connections are not the easy countries to collect the data to be trained since there is not enough data sets because there's a lack of connections, of course. So these could be the one of the challenges in the future. Future scope. Uh, uh, their futuristic Google's model, which is called the Electra model, and um, yeah, this is more efficient than the previous models I specified in the report. Uh, and in the future, we can probably use able to use the real-time embedded system applications so we can interpreting or translating the sentences in real time. Um, for these all the things, the scientists have to uh, keep striving for the new features, for the innovative functionalities, because the technology does not develop automatically, and also the government and countries have to invest into the R&D field too. The last slide, summary and lessons learned throughout this project. Uh, I actually have been striving for how to create a new system that contains the project requirements and the diverse models, so it can be finally a product. I realized that one of the most important aspects are the fundamental knowledge. Uh, yeah, fundamental knowledge uh, in which the most of the people do not really care of. I believe that based on this robust uh, baseline, a paradigm can be shifted, and and is able to influence the whole product and users in the future. Uh, that's one of the things I learned. And another thing that I believe it is crucial is that the project caused me to motivate myself. That I got to know the reasons and structures why the East Asian language is not fluent when they're translated into Western languages. and I got to know the all the details of the product and systems, and it's all design process. So it was a very great opportunity for me to think about the better processes and details. So at the end of the day, we can we we are we finally going to be able to develop the better products through the systems engineering. Okay, so this is all I have today, and thank you for watching this video.